Hey guys, here are my top 5 favorite comics this year. So in no particular order, let's get to it. The first one on my list is Lazarus by Greg Rucka. And this is the first trade paperback. It's got the first 4 single issues. It's about a family and kind of North America after falling under control of a bunch of different drug cartel kind of families. And one of the aspects that these family has is that they have these kind of indestructible, genetically altered members of their family called Lazaruses. This one follows a family called Carlisle. Their Lazarus is named Forever. And in the first trade paperback, it's kind of mostly just setting up the world. But in the second, you get this awesome kind of background about her family and how she grew up. And I'm really liking where this series is going. Also by Image, no surprise there, Pretty Deadly. So let's just take a peek inside. You can see this has just a beautiful sense of color, a kind of interesting layout to their pages. It's about a girl who is kind of traveling with this wandering blind man, and it turns out that death is hunting her down. By girl, I don't mean that she's like 25, I mean she's like 10. It's really beautifully done. I'm interested to see where it's going. And it has just one of those plot lines that hooks you in. It has a very lyrical type of storytelling and the verbiage that is in the book. And like I said, the art is just beautiful. The next one up is Miss Marple. This is a single issue of the second comic. The trade paperback is going to be coming out later this October, I believe. But I just couldn't wait. I heard about this and I was so intrigued. It's a revamp of Miss Marple, who is one of those classic Marvel characters. It's about a young Pakistani first-generation American who is feeling really left out in her kind of social circles. She doesn't know who she is, and she's trying to discover that. She's super excited to become Miss Marvel, and then realizes that it doesn't make her feel any better about herself as a person. I'm excited to see again where this one is going. It's done in a very graphic style. If you can take a peek at that. Not so much bold lines, but definitely bold color choices. I really like this one. I'm pretty intrigued. I'm planning on picking up the trade paperback when it comes out later in October. This next one isn't necessarily a typical choice because it's not in that trade paperback or single issue format. It's a standalone by Brian Lee O'Malley called Lost at Sea. I was not a big fan of Scott Pilgrim vs. the Universe. I love the movies. The books themselves I thought were kind of mediocre. That might be because I read them in color, and a lot of the humor in them is actually based on the fact that they were originally published black and white. But I did think they kind of got a little cheesy and dragged on a little too long. This has none of those problems. It's not necessarily a very funny story. It's about a young girl, Raleigh, who is on this road trip with people she doesn't know, and she's kind of at this point in her life where she's starting to make these big decisions, and she's scaring herself about the choices she's making. She's not sure about her identity. And the best part about this book is that it's the perfect length. If this were written out and were, you know, a 400-page novel, I would have been so bored. But it's about 260 some pages of graphic novel, which meant that it reads really quickly. It doesn't have the time to dwell on the parts of one of those coming of age stories that would otherwise make it really boring. It picks that pacing up in a way that isn't forced. And I really liked how brief and kind of simple and short and sweet it was. I also have been really digging Rocket Girl. I've shown this in one of my other videos. This is what it looks like. It is by Brandon Montclair and Amy Reeder. Amy Reeder is the artist. She does all of this, which is beautiful. And it's a story about a girl who's working for like this teen police force in, I don't know, sometime in the future. She goes back to 1986 to kind of interrupt the timeline and stop this big corporation from ruining the world. You know, the plot isn't necessarily that original. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not something that's outside of the realm of what has been done, but it's just so fantastically paced, and there's such a sense of humor in it. There's really just this fantastic sense of motion and action in the panels, that I could not get over it when I was reading it. It felt like you were watching an action scene in a movie, which is just an awesome thing to have in a graphic novel, especially one that is kind of based off of, let's see if you can get a good picture there, but especially one that's supposed to be action packed. You want to make sure that you're getting that sense of movement, and it really strikes a chord on that one. That's my top 5 comics of the year. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.